So this is using No Machine, and I'm looking at my Raster X2L, and I've loaded Ubuntu Cinnamon 2204. The latest one doesn't work, so you have to go with the old one for now. I'm sure it'll get updated soon. So I've found with installing stuff, it's good to log in as your first job. So this is me just logging in to my NI user account so I can start downloading LabVIEW. Just saves pop-up boxes that sometimes get blocked and that kind of thing. So anyway, I'm selecting Linux. I'm not selecting 24 because there's a rendering issue, so 23 and Community Edition, and then I download it. So this is going to download lots of sort of repository files in a zip, which you then just extract. Well, I just extract it there, so it'd just be a directory. And then if you look in there, because this is Ubuntu, we're interested in the depths, and there's a 2204 there. Okay. With this, I was just poking around saying there's Red Hat Linux and that. But anyway, Ubuntu is the one. So if we open this with software install, which is the app for installing software, funnily enough. They're very inventive with their names. And essentially all this is going to do is register the repository with Linux, so it knows where to look when you're installing or using apt install to install some software. So some of the progress bars on this I've sped up. I'll indicate as they happen. I'll just say that this is sped up, so this is not a realistic time. I think I've just times the progress bar installs by 16 times, I think. So you'll see them whip through quite quickly. So you need to give yourself advanced privileges, so sudo apt update after you've and that just brings in all the latest repositories. And now you can see it's beginning to read all the packages in. And after that you go sudo apt install ni dash LabVIEW dash the year, so here 2023 dash the version, here community. It could be that or pro. I've never done anything other than that or pro, but it just says these are the dependencies. Do you want to install them as well? Hit yes, and away she goes. So she just starts installing now. So Ubuntu, you do have to do some command line stuff. OpenSUSE, you can do it all in YAST, which is nice. I like that about OpenSUSE. So that's downloading. So the next thing you have to download is the device drivers. So just search for LabVIEW device drivers, I do, and then they come up always second for some bizarre reason. And I just download the latest. I don't worry about matching the versions or anything like that. Doesn't seem to care. And it's the same procedure once it pops in. There you go. So it comes in as device drivers. So all I'm going to do is extract all of those, and it's the same process again, really. I'm not going to do it yet because you can't do two installs at the same time. But I don't go for the stream option, I just go for the drivers. I think now is when I speed it up, because there she goes, whoosh. If only life was so easy. Again, open with software install. Bang in your advanced privilege. And you can see, I mean, even though this is a tiny little single board computer, it responds quite nicely. You know, the windows and everything. I like Cinnamon. Cinnamon looks nice. And this is my review of it. You do a sudo apt update, the same procedure. Just brings in all the repros, make sure they're all up to date. Make sure the dependencies are sorted, I think. And then you go. For most of what we do sudo apt install NIVisa. There is an awful lot of other drivers, and there is a very useful website I'll link in the description, which tells you the names of the other things you can load. The hardware coverage is patchy, hardware support coverage, but with NIVisa you can pretty much talk to anything that's got a Ethernet port or a USB or a serial port. So I find it works really well with Linux. Another useful thing to install, which I tend to do, is NI hardware config utility. It's a nice little utility. I think eventually it may end up being a replacement for Macs. That's my theory. So what I'm now doing is groups and having a look at the groups for CTI, who's the user. So my standard test user is Community Training Initiative. And what I'm doing here is just adding CTI to the dial-out group. And this gives you access to dial-out type hardware like serial ports within the system. So you can see now, if I just check the groups that CTI is a member of, you can see dial-out has been added. Now you can see now very quickly there, because I was zoomed it up, but I was just checking to see the NIVisa utility works, and it didn't work. And the reason why is because I think for dial-out to work properly and everything to know that it has to go to the outside world, it has to reboot. So I reboot it quickly, very, very quickly there. So quickly you didn't know that I did it. And here it pops up. And now it can see the serial ports. If you don't do that, you'll get question marks, or you'll get the serial ports just rolling and incrementing every time. But essentially it just won't work. But now we can load LabVIEW. Now Community Edition is full 64-bit LabVIEW. It's full function. There's no restrictions apart from the license. When you and the critical one for me is that you have to connect to the internet to use it, which is, when training, something of a pain. I wish they change it really, but there you go. Can't have everything in life. But here you have to authenticate it, and it'll say, it'll wake up and it'll just be LabVIEW. Now I'm going to make a few changes just to make it nice. There is a bug. If you look at the text, it's all pushed to the top. I think Brian Powell calls this the 1 pixel bug, font bug. So I do an overkill here. I go into the environment and I change the fonts. Now I think I'm going over the top because I'm just doing it every single one, changing it to Liberation Sans, which seems to work okay. And I go for all the different dialogues and system fonts, and this is mainly because I can never remember what gets applied to everything and what doesn't, and so I just do it across the board. I'm sure somebody in the comments will tell me where I'm going terribly wrong with my life. But it works. It seems to work quite well. So yeah, going back to the LabVIEW 2024 Q1 issue, there is a rendering issue, I think. This is just how I understand it in the OpenGL stuff. You won't see it on a virtual machine, but you do, because generally, unless you, I guess, enable OpenGL or hardware acceleration. But on this little Radza, and most hardware I've tried so far, it does cause a rendering issue. Now, It was tolerable when it was just the four next loops on the block diagram. It was just a bit annoying. I didn't like it, but I could tolerate it. But we put some buttons on the front panel the other day for another job, and it was struggling to render those in a meaningful way. So that's